753 B.C., the legendary founding of Rome by Romulus, the she-wolf, suckling twin brothers Romulus and Remus, the overthrow of the kings by the Romans and the establishment of a republic, the conquest of Italy, the Punic Wars against Carthage, Hannibal crossing the Alps with elephants, the rise of General Marius, and the fall of the Republic. Julius Caesar, civil wars Augustus, in the beginning of the Pax Romana. The Roman Empire would last for 500 years, growing to include all of the Mediterranean and much of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. It was a time of roads and aqueducts, of cities and commerce, of law and language. Rome became the capital of the largest empire the world had ever seen. Our story begins on the banks of the Tiber River in central Italy. Legend tells the tale of two twin brothers, Romulus and Remus, abandoned as infants and discovered by a she-wolf, who nursed them back to health. Raised by a she-wolf. Romulus and Remus she-wolf. The twins eventually founded the city of Rome in 753 BCE. Although the exact origins of Rome are shrouded in myth and legend, historians believe that the city started as a small village inhabited by various Italian tribes. Over time, these settlements grew, forming a small kingdom around the 6th century BCE. Rome's early rulers were part of a long line of Etruscan kings. But by 509 BCE, the Romans rebelled against their king Tarquinius Superbus and established a republic with elected officials. This marked a significant departure from the monarchies that dominated much of Europe at the time. Instead of having a hereditary ruler, Rome's government was run by an assembly of representatives who were elected by the citizens. The Roman Republic's new government allowed it to grow and become powerful. At first, they focused on controlling the Italian peninsula, but soon their sights were set on North Africa and the eastern Mediterranean. They fought several wars with Carthage, a powerful North African empire known as the Punic Wars. The most famous of these wars was the Second Punic War, when Hannibal Barca, the brilliant Carthaginian general, crossed the Alps with his army and shocked the Romans with an ambush at the Battle of Cannae. Even after suffering huge losses, Rome refused to give up. Eventually, Rome's general Scipio Africanus defeated Hannibal at the Battle of Zama in 202 BC. This victory gave Rome control of the western Mediterranean and vast amounts of wealth and slaves. Back in Rome, the influx of wealth and power caused tensions between the rich and poor. The gap between the elites and the common people grew wider. Also, the Republic's system of government was becoming unstable. Some of the most powerful men in Rome were generals who commanded armies. These generals, like Marius and Sulla, had their own armies that were loyal to them, not to Rome. They used their armies to fight each other for control of the city. This civil war and the following unrest paved the way for Julius Caesar to seize power in 49 BCE. He was assassinated in 44 BCE. More civil wars followed. But eventually, Augustus, Caesar's adopted son, emerged victorious. In 27 BCE, Augustus was named the first emperor of Rome. The Pax Romana began under Augustus. It was a time of peace and prosperity within the empire, but also of impressive building projects, including the famous Colosseum. The empire grew to cover all of the Mediterranean and parts of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. During this time, Rome was the center of the world. Its population grew to over 1 million people. The empire's stability allowed trade and commerce to flourish. Roman roads, aqueducts, and bridges were some of the most impressive engineering feats of the ancient world. Roman law and language became influential throughout the empire. Latin, the language of Rome, spread to the provinces and eventually became the basis for many modern languages. Roman law and customs also had a lasting impact on Europe. Many ideas about justice, rights, and property still have roots in Roman law. But the peace and prosperity of the Pax Romana did not last forever. As the empire grew, So did the number of people who wanted to invade it. In the 3rd and 4th centuries CE, Germanic tribes from the north pushed into Roman territory. These invasions, along with political corruption and economic problems, weakened Rome's power. By the 5th century CE, the Western Roman Empire had fallen. In 410 CE, Rome was sacked by a group of Visigoths. The sack of Rome was a turning point in history. It showed that the empire was not invincible, and that the old ways were changing. However, the Eastern Roman Empire, often referred to as Byzantium, continued to thrive for almost 1,000 more years. It kept the traditions, law, and even the language of Rome alive. And it played a vital role in preserving Christianity. So while the empire in the West was crumbling, the eastern half continued to prosper. The Eastern Roman Empire lasted until 1453 CE, when it was conquered by the Ottoman Turks. Rome's story is one of incredible highs and devastating lows. It is a story of ambition and achievement, but also of greed and decline. The Roman Empire left an incredible legacy, influencing everything from European politics to modern languages to legal systems. Much of what we take for granted today can be traced back to the innovations and ideas of the Romans. Their accomplishments continue to shape our world in big and small ways. Even as the power of the empire faded, its influence on the course of history remained strong. The story of Rome is not just a story of one city. It is a story about all of us.